Hi, I'm Dorian Benquo with Teaming Media. We're here with David Moore, the CEO and founder of 24/7 Real Media. We're at the IAB Networks and Exchange Conference, and this is on behalf of the IAB. David, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you and your company do.
Well, 24/7 Real Media runs a website network that is in the top 5 to, depends, 4th or 5th network in terms of reach here in the U.S. We also have a network like that in the United Kingdom, Korea, and France. We also have a technology called OpenAdStream, which we use to power our network, but we also license it to other websites such as a Forbes or Discovery. And we also have a search technology called Zap Search, which automates the business of buying search across the various search engines such as Bing and of course Google. We have 19 offices in 12 different countries and about 500 employees worldwide.
And you made an announcement today. We'll get to that in a sec. You're somebody who is really one of the very few people who founded a company 15 or so years ago and is still at the helm of the company today. You've seen the web and digital media through generation after generation. What do you see now that you didn't see a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, both on the publisher side and the advertiser side?
Well, it's interesting you bring up my longevity in the business because I made it into Fortune magazine about 3 years ago, and the way I made it in, it was not a big piece, but it was that I'm the oldest CEO of a company that he founded. And I kind of like to think I have the most experience
right.
as opposed to being the oldest. But I think the industry continues to be fascinating and provides a lot of intellectual stimulation for an older guy like me, which of course is one of the keys to longevity, and that everything's changing every single day. Technological advances are happening a lot faster than I saw them happen, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago. In fact, I would say most of the innovation in advertising today is driven by some sort of technology.
Well, this is an IAB audience, so they're going to probably know that there's been a lot of change. What would you cite as something that, we're here at the Networks and Exchanges Conference, so what would you cite as a technology or even an attitude toward the technology that you see different from how it was even a year or 2 or 3 ago?
Well, when you think about it, we developed the first DSP at 24/7. We launched it in 2008. It was called B3. The demand side platform acronym had not even been developed yet. Yet that business has, along with others that the agencies have launched, has started to cannibalize the network business.
How so?
Well, agencies now are creating their own networks. And to a certain extent, they look for the margins that the networks have made in the past. And as a result, they're putting together their own networks with their own players.
I see.
And don't tend to look to the traditional network provider for that type of media anymore.
So so what we're seeing is basically almost custom networks where it's not a vertical network by subject or a horizontal network by demographic or some other kind of large targeting. It's a network that sort of cobbles together the best of whatever a marketer wants in any individual instance, and it's almost like a tailored network.
Which has always been our proposition as well. We tailored our network for years to exactly what the advertiser wanted. The issue for the agencies is that their business has become a time and materials business. The commission rate when you were at ABC was 15% on network television. It's a fraction of that number today. So the agencies have had to discover new ways of improving their margins, making more money. This is a natural for them to be able to consolidate digital trading in the same way they did with television or radio or magazines. However, we developed a product that they're using. Our brethren at WPP, particularly Group M and Ogilvy, are both using a product called B3 that we created. And like to think we're somewhat like Apple, where they develop products all the time that cannibalize existing products. We've done that in our business. Where do we go with our next product? Well, we announced it today with Menu. And Menu essentially allows...
That's M-E-N-U.
Right, M.E.N.U. And we want everybody to become part of the menu, because what it allows an advertiser to do is ask two fundamental questions, or answer, I should say, two fundamental questions, and that is, who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to accomplish? After that, the advertiser goes through and selects all the partners that can help them achieve those goals, and then we at 24/7 make that a reality for them, thereby getting rid of all the complexity that exists in the marketplace.
Which you were telling me is one of the themes today, is complexity.
Big thing.
Yeah.
And makes it simple
Well,
to utilize the appropriate folks.
There's a very famous chart by the analyst Terence Kawaja where, he puts all the different...
I blew the chart up today.
Did you?
Yes. In fact, the chart was up there, and apparently he makes a $3 fee every time it's shown.
Okay.
And Menu, that chart just emptied into Menu. So
Okay.
you had one bucket, so to speak, as opposed to a banker slide, which is trying to get people to sell their companies as quickly as possible.
You're in WPP, one of the largest ad groups in the world, if not the largest. The head of 24/7, which has multiple strains. From your perspective, you're helping all these marketers. Is there anything you can say to give a publisher comfort?
Well, by the way, WPP is the largest. They buy about $65 billion worth of media through their media agencies nowadays. And it's tough for the publisher right now because there's more inventory on the web than will ever be sold, and particularly it won't be sold in my lifetime or yours. So the traditional supply and demand business, which certainly was network television, to a lesser extent cable, even magazines, radio, is not at play on the web like it was for those traditional mediums. Additionally, the pitch that the publisher put forth offline was that your advertisement will be nested in editorial that is conducive to the impact of the ad, which is utopia for the advertiser. The right ad at the right time in the right environment, the mindset of the consumer is in the right place.
Right.
It's the most effective way for an advertiser to sell their product, no question about it. However, what's happened is that same content has moved on to the web. We've been able to measure the impact that excellent editorial has on an ad. It's good. It's great. It can be 100% difference between having that ad in that pristine content vis-a-vis some user gen conversation, but everything else is equal. Same user, same everything else. 100% doesn't translate into a 10x ask in pricing.
Well, I heard you, I was able to catch a little bit of your remarks downstairs in the conference room, and you did talk about the need for transparency on behalf of publishers. That's difficult for them, isn't it? Isn't one of the sort of not-so-secrets of publishers is that if they were completely transparent, they would be showing that, they're selling a certain level of effectiveness, but they're packaging and all this other stuff that actually isn't as effective, and they really, maybe, if they were completely transparent, couldn't charge the prices that they're getting.
Well, they will have to. You can run, but you can't hide. And to the extent that you become in a defensive position as opposed to being offensive, it's just a matter of time before you lose. You have to be offensive, and you can see a lot of examples of that in the offline business where somebody was not offensive, they were just defensive, and they're now either out of business or bankrupt or both. I think the real issue for the premium publisher is that while historically they got all their revenue from advertising, all the money from advertising, that will not be a viable business model going forward online. Going to have to look for ways of getting the consumer to pay, and they will pay for things they want. Look, pay for a prize fight on Saturday night, they'll pay $50. That's a lot of money. And what a lot of folks forget is that if you get a consumer to pay 5 cents for a piece of editorial, that is a $50 cost per thousand. And not too many publishers are getting $50 cost per thousands online anymore. So I love pristine editorial. I utilize it all the time. I want to see it continue. I would certainly pay for the stuff that I want, and I think that's going to have to become more prevalent in the future.
Do you see other offsetting revenue streams as well? I mean, you talked about pay-per-view. You talked about implied subscription revenue. Are there other offsetting revenue streams?
Certainly, there's going to be some e-commerce opportunities, whether it's for their own products or products that are very compatible with the environments that they offer. There may be archival services that they can offer where people are doing some research and need to read an article that was written. I think if you talk to the publishers that are on the offensive right now, they're looking at a myriad of pricing models and revenue streams, and that's the right way to look at it. You just don't have as much experimentation going on right now as necessary.
And it's a lot less expensive to experiment in digital than it ever was in any other medium.
It is.
Your perspective allows you to answer a question that I couldn't necessarily ask other people. There's so many people in the chain now. So many people saying, "I'll give you a value. I'll give you a value. I will serve your ad. I will check the validity of whether that ad was served correctly. I will give you a little bit of demand side juice, if you will." And everybody's taking a cut. Margins are decreasing. Is it at what point can there no longer be handing off of data and change? Is there enough revenue there to support this entire...
Look, when you talk about everybody taking a cut, I think that's something that the bankers have fabricated. I really do. The websites are the ones that sell their inventory for a certain price. It's not like the advertiser is saying, "I'll pay Forbes.com $5 for 1,000 for their inventory," which very low rate. Mike Perlis would kill me if you heard me say
Forbes,
that. But
of course, is earning minimum of 50.
But $5 cost per thousand. It's not like all these piranhas come and take a little bite out of that $5, and that Forbes has $1 left at the end of the day. That's a fallacy. If Forbes is getting $1, it's because they sold it for $1.
Okay.
Right? And then the tree works backwards. Ultimately, for the advertiser, it comes back to what I was talking about with the menu. I hate to talk flagrantly, promote it again, but basically, the advertiser has 2 questions, basic questions that they need to answer before they do a campaign. Who are they trying to reach? What are they trying to accomplish? And those objectives can be laid out as sophisticatedly as they want them to be. And based on how sophisticated their needs are, you may employ more partners in order to affect that objective. But if you do, there's a documented return on investment to it, so it doesn't make a difference to the advertiser that there may be a few more people getting a cut because they're getting a much better return. On the other hand, if it's that, the objective is I want to reach men 18 to 49, and my objective is to increase brand awareness by 10% among that constituency, I'm not so sure you need a ton of partners to be able to do that.
Gotcha. Well, that's a really good way to end. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, David.
You're welcome.